thank you everyone for joining us today. Welcome to our monthly webinar. This month's webinar is entitled Mastering Subscription Success, AI-driven customer scoring for boosting subscription revenue growth. Today, we're going to explore how the Vozix solution can help you harness artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to help you score your customer base and then use that information to be able to operationalize actions within your business to help increase your subscription revenue. I'm your host for today. My name's Brandon Savage. I'm the head of solution enablement at Vozix. I've spent 20 years within subscription-based recurring revenue, consumer-facing industries as an operations and customer experience leader. It was actually while I was in a role of director of customer experience that I first met our next speaker today, Vasu Akala, who is the co-founder and chief data scientist at Vozix. Vasu, can you please introduce yourself more fully? And then after that, we'll turn the time over to Doug to introduce himself.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for joining. As Brandon mentioned, I'm one of the two co-founders of the business, but I also have the pleasure of leading our data science team. Myself particularly, I bring about 25 years of data analytics and AI experience. In fact, we have been working on AI before all this AI, that everyone is talking about because of, chat GPT and self-driving cars and, cloud adoption. All of this is fascinating. But my team of 100 plus data scientists and data engineers work exclusively on subscription businesses. So we have mastered many of the use cases that subscription businesses need and how to transform their businesses by bringing AI into many different use cases we are going to be talking about. And that's our unique differentiator. We focus exclusively on subscription businesses, and the value we deliver is transformational scale, tens of millions of dollars in value. Looking forward to our discussion later today. Doug?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, wherever you might be. Thank you, Brandon. My name's Doug Shapiro. I'm the Chief Sales Officer. Vasu and I have been working to solve this problem of subscription economics for seems like some 10 or 15 years now, and we have a very mature team of 100 people, as well as a ready-to-go set of business applications and platform focused on helping organizations like yours retain, guess what, your most important asset, your customers, while increasing growth and revenue. So look forward to the webinar. Look forward to some questions you might have towards the end, and back to you, Brandon.
Thank you very much. And I should say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you're coming from. We don't usually point this out, but I'm based out of Kansas. I'm coming to you live from the campus of Kansas State University, where I have an office. I also teach in the business school. Vasu is coming to you live from Virginia, near Dulles Airport. And then Doug's background is very appropriate. He's coming to us from the Bay Area where he lives. And then we have several other team members that I know are joining as attendees that are coming to us from India. So we've got a lot of time zones covered here. So to kick things off and to lay a foundation for what Vasu is going to share with us today, we've had the opportunity to interact with hundreds of industry leaders across a wide variety of consumer-facing, subscription-based industries. And as we meet with them, we've certainly identified a common thread in their aspirations and their hurdles, their challenges. All of them have this desire to be able to amplify their enterprise value. And some of the challenges associated with that are figuring out how to translate the vast amounts of data they have into actionable insights. As we get further into discussions with them, the questions that inevitably are raised, and maybe ones that some of you attending today have thought about as you considered whether our solution is appropriate for your business, is first the business case. Does this make sense financially for us to be able to invest this in solution? And are we going to see a return on that investment? The second is, are we going to achieve timely results? How long is it going to take before we start seeing an impact in some of our key metrics? And then lastly, how much lift is this going to take for our team? How much are our in-house capabilities going to need to be used in order to deploy this solution? These concerns are valid and certainly highlight the critical need for a very strategic approach to how do you implement artificial intelligence and machine learning within an organization. So as we look at what we bring to the table, we are able to sit down with you, to work with you to understand what are your key current metrics in terms of number of customers, what is your annual churn, what is your cost to deliver your service, and we can present a business case and create that business case that shows what you can expect to return from an investment in this solution based on our experience with our current partners. As we look at time to value and resources, we're going to show you today how we bring together our technology, our expertise, and our proven solution to be able to help your subscription business to be able to jumpstart your transformation of using artificial and intelligence and machine learning more deeply without an upfront investment or without having to hire or build an additional technology stack. As we look at our journey over the last decade plus, we've been able to focus on partnering with a handful of subscription businesses to be able to harness the power of artificial intelligence for tangible business impact. From achieving $100 million in customer lifetime value increase to realizing substantial growth for our partners, our solutions have consistently delivered. And we've had many of these individuals here join us on past webinars to share their experience and how our solution has been able to transform their business. In addition, we have new partners who are early in the journey that are still seeing how quickly we can be able to deliver speed to value using our solution. These success stories are a testament to our innovative approach and the remarkable efficacy of our artificial intelligence technology and our team of talented individuals in being able to drive real business results. So with that as a foundation, I'd like to turn the time over to Vasu. We'll exchange screens here, and he'll be able to share with you the main show today on how to boost subscription revenue growth using our solution. Vasu.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon, for the background. Can you see my screen? I'm sharing my screen.
Okay. Sure can.
Yeah, awesome. So every time I see that picture with $10 million of value, $30 million of value, 90 days to implementation, it's just so satisfying. And we are able to achieve that with our codified process because, as I mentioned earlier, all our 100+ data scientists and data engineers, we focus on subscription business needs, and we have multiple models and implementation practices. So what I'm going to do, team, on the call today in the next, let's say 15 minutes or so, is walk you through how do we bring AI? When we think of AI for subscription businesses, what are the use cases? And how do we systematically bring them together, present a higher level, bigger picture for subscription businesses, and then zoom into how does the operation look like? How does lifetime value increase look like? And then we'll zoom out back into when you first score with Wazik, like what do you see and how can you think about the bigger picture about many other use cases that you may have, right? So we'll zoom out, zoom in, and then we'll zoom out, right? So that's my agenda for the next, let's say 15 minutes. So let me switch the screen. So now let's step back a little bit. Subscription businesses, what are we talking about? How do we grow the enterprise value or customer lifetime value of subscription businesses? They have three main layers, I would say. One is either you acquire customers at a lower cost using AI technology, obviously will help in acquiring more at a lower cost, right? And we'll talk about how. Or alternatively, once you get to a certain stage, there are not more customers for us to keep acquiring. It makes a lot more sense for us to keep our customers for as long as possible by understanding their unique needs, regardless of they bought your highest value product or the average value product. How do we increase the lifetime of these customers? And now once you keep them, of course, you can grow the revenue by selling more, or upgrading or managing their prices effectively, and so on and so forth, right? So when you research, you will have these three main levers: either get customers or keep customers or grow customers, right? So that's what high level funnel looks like for any subscription business. But now let's go deeper into each of these funnels and see how AI can play a role there, or how different use cases look like. Now, we as a business, 10 years ago, when we started Wazik, we started with customer retention. I believe this is the hardest one because it requires interconnecting all your data sources, understanding true needs of your customers, regardless of which sales channel, which marketing channel, which price point they started at one time when they started their journey with us. The beauty of subscription business is if you have 20% attrition, that means 5 years of lifetime, right? Average lifetime. That means some are staying for 7 years, some are staying only for 3 years. That's regardless, it's a long lifetime. Now, many companies just acquire these customers. They may not do anything proactively. They may not fully understand, price management or satisfaction management or other things, right? And kind of operate in a very reactive way when the customer calls to buy something or when the customer calls to cancel and all of that. We believe by bringing AI, first of all, you can change retention into what we call proactive retention. We spent a significant amount of time. Our models have been trained on 20 plus million active and canceled subscribers. So they have been fine-tuned over a long period on a long customer base. Now, what that allowed us to do is, what are the other ways of keeping customers? Of course, whether they're answering a satisfaction survey or not, we have the ability to predict if they were to answer a satisfaction survey, are they going to answer this more as a promoter or a detractor? Now that translates into more proactive opportunities for you. We have even mastered who is a likely non-pay customer and which non-pay customer should we be calling. Is the customer who just signed up 90 days ago and never paid? Or is the customer who's there for 3 years, paying us consistently, living us in a very wealthy neighborhood, and missed a payment for 30 days? Maybe they're on a vacation, right? So our models have deep insights into how do we manage NPS, how do we manage non-pay, and even pick up signals of who's likely to move based on different market segments and based on their calling patterns, and who's asking for what and things like that in your call center, right? So those are a couple of examples of use cases to extend the lifetime of the customer, right? That's now purely lifetime extension, right? Now, when you keep the customers longer, obviously you can think of subscription businesses, their cost might increase. And what we have seen is, companies randomly increasing the prices, because of the cost pressures and inflation and things like that. We have a stronger, different opinion there. Because we started with retention, we understand how price increases might impact retention. Do not increase the price for someone who called and negotiated some retention, offers and things like that. Or maybe, a price sensitive customer. We have the ability to identify who's price sensitive, which customers are ready for a price increase or absorb a price increase versus who's not. Or the alternative use cases on how to generate more revenue from your existing customers through, maybe this customer has a basic plan and they're ready for upgrading to a premier plan that gets you more margin, right? So that's all kind of very good use cases to grow the revenue. Or even better, we understand, right, and help you understand your highest lifetime value customers, so you can get their friends and neighbors and all of that through referrals and give them a small incentive, right? So that's keeping customers and growing customers, right? We'll talk about AI, how AI can help. But all these practices over the last 10 years, we have mastered them. And now recently we have been applying them on even getting customers, more customers, or getting customers at a lower cost. We have multiple approaches of helping you achieve that. First of all, through simple lead scoring, based on where they're calling, who they are, how their interactions look like with your marketing channels and your website channels and your call center channels, all of that. Or even some interesting use cases, like maybe the customers that were not converted 2 years ago and 3 years ago, you may have a boatload of those customers in your marketing channel. But with your AI, we can rescore them, we can re-nurture them, and get you a much more faster way to acquire those customers without spending additional money on lead generation. Same thing goes for even canceled customers. We believe canceled customers are not canceled customers forever. We are better off marketing them, reactivating them before our competition does, right? So that's our philosophy on how to think about subscription businesses, how to think about their lifetime value growth, and what are the sub use cases in each of these: get customers, keep customers, and grow customers. Now, in terms of finances, right? Of course, you can see in the keep and grow, what we are doing is, your CFO is going to love this one, right? We are increasing the lifetime value of all the customer bases by extending their lifetime, or extending the value of each of your customers, right? So that's lifetime value increase. Or the other way to grow your business is, of course, by lowering the cost of acquisition and acquiring more customers, right? So this is where, when you have all these use cases implemented on a platform, of course, AI is kind of learning from each of these scenarios, scoring your customers every single day, and giving you transformational opportunities to drive enterprise value, right? So fascinating story when you come back and look at what is the real opportunity for subscription businesses, especially when you put AI into the middle of all of this, right? So now let's go into, maybe this is a quote, right? So all of us may have different quotes like these. I'm sure you have your own favorite quote. I just wanted to put this number out there. This is from McKinsey. You may have variations of these things. Companies that excel at personalization generate 40% more revenue than average players, right? Whether that is 40, 60, 2x, 3x, I have seen variations of these things. This is exciting, right? Up until now, we were kind of doing this in a very hard, rules-driven way. Now AI is changing the game, right? So certainly transformational value, 40% is exciting. I actually believe this value is even more higher than this number, right? Now let's go back into, now as we kind of look at the next couple of slides, I'm going to zoom into how does this look like with AI, scoring customers, and then we'll take a scenario of, how does it look like, when you operationalize, right? So when you don't have AI, you may have 100,000 customers, 1,000,000 customers, 500,000 customers, whatever your customer base is. You're looking at all their customers. Maybe there might be some scenarios. This is a new customer. This is the end of contract customer. This is a 5-year customer. This is this product customer, that product customer. You might be kind of doing certain things based on the cohorts or certain, broader segments. But essentially, most of our operational leaders and marketing leaders, they're essentially giving, what we call broad brush offers, because there is not a whole lot of micro segmentation that can happen, right? How we change the game with AI is we take all your customers and we group them into what we call micro segments. And these micro segments are based on use cases. Now it could look like this, right? All your customers would be nicely organized now into, if we want to increase the price, these are the targets for price increase. If we want to reduce the churn, these are the targets for churn reduction. If you have products to upgrade or newer products that you want your customers to try, we don't have to randomly send all these things to everyone and increase our costs. We will precisely identify which customer gets upgrade offers, which customers get referral offers, which customers get renewal offers, and so on and so forth, right? So that's the high level, kind of, how to translate McKinsey feedback about personalization. It will be achieved with AI scoring, the concept called microsegments. And once you have this AI-enabled microsegments, you'll be able to look at which customer is ready for which type of targeted offer in a very, very data-driven way, right? So that's what is possible with AI, and that's what is possible with many of the pre-built models that we have using all your data sources, right? So now, obviously, to achieve what we have seen in the previous slide, we would need to connect your data sources, and that is our expertise, right? We will work with your team, and we will look at demographic data sources. The data sources that we are seeing on the left side, these are all the internal data sources. Some of that might be structured data sources like contract and plan and payment and things like that, and some of that might be unstructured, which is where we find a lot more signal. These might be satisfaction survey comments or calls into your call center with their call reasons, and even call center agent notes, or maybe even transcriptions that you may have, right? So we will take all of that data coming from your service history, broken equipment fixed or reservices for some of the home-based services, usage patterns, how they're using your products, their locations, their satisfaction surveys, their issues, and all those things, their contracts, and certainly, as I mentioned, call center agent notes, because our solution can even absorb unstructured data, right? Now, to make these things more powerful, we have been working with neighborhood data, Zillow and Google data, IRS and census data, and for some of the pest control and home services business, even weather information is very, very useful to predict what is likely to happen. So we will attach all of that internal data and immediately enhance the value of your data, right? Now, on the right side, what you're seeing is these pre-built predictive models that were trained on tens of millions of home-based subscription companies. So these are already pre-built models. But what we do is, whether we talk about our churn model or price increase model or NPS model or lifetime value model, we take our pre-built model and connect your data sources and give it a spin to fine-tune that model to learn your particular business practices. Who are the customers that canceled in the last 6 months to 12 months, and what led to their cancellations, right? So these models will be able to quickly learn, and that's why our time to implementation is very, very quick compared to doing this, from scratch, right? So you will get access to all these models, and then our framework will, allow us to work with you to identify which model has the highest value for you. Doug will talk about that, kind of growth workshop and how to get started with WASIC. But we have a process for connecting your data, attaching third-party data, fine-tuning our proven predictive models that are created for subscription businesses to your unique business needs, right? So now let's see how this kind of works together, right? So I'm going to just talk about this layers concept, right? Layers of data. I'm going to talk about the third-party data first, and then zoom into your particular data. And my plan here is just to give you an idea about how these things work. The third-party data that is already available when combined with your own internal structured and unstructured data, right? What we have seen is someone living in the middle of New York has a different psychographic behavior patterns, and someone living in, let's say, the middle of Montana. Their lifestyle is different, their needs are different, their price points are different, right? Just by knowing the location, we understand the income levels and the affordability levels and all of this, and we have nearest neighbor algorithms that identify what are the needs of the customers in that location versus some other location. That already gives us pretty good predictive power to distinguish these customers, right? Now, the moment we know which particular home they're living in, it's $1 million home versus a $250,000 home, a townhome versus a rental home versus a owned home, this long, that long, right? We can plug in all of that data from our third-party data sources and then immediately enhance the value of the lifestyle and the demographic expectations of these types of customers. Now, the real magic is when we now connect all of those pre-built layers into your own account-specific thing. Now, here we're talking about payment history and payment method. Are they on ACH, credit card? How long have they been paying? Are there any missed payments in the past? Their contracts, are they new customer, end of contract, out of contract, right? How much they have been using your service? Has there been upgrade history? Has there been satisfaction survey, promoter scores and detractor scores? Or have they been calling into your call center and inquiring about, situations, how they responded to your previous move offers and price upgrades and all these things? All these data points are there in your data sources. So now when we connect that, this layered data concept is going to identify all the segments that we identified earlier, right? Who are the likely churn segment customers? Who are the likely renewal customers? Who are the likely referral customers based on their neighborhoods and homes and lifestyles and your account information, right? So that's a good way for us to think about what data is pre-existing and how much can be pre-built. And in fact, we have pre-built many of these things, including account specific analytics that I'm talking about. While we may not have fine-tuned that your business, we have already fine-tuned it based on 20 million active and canceled customers. And we are consistently seeing the same patterns. And it's a very small effort for us because we have done it for other companies to adapt it to your business needs. And that's why we are able to do this relatively quickly, right? So now let's zoom in and take an example of, how do we do this for customer retention instead of talking about all other use cases. Now, AI can score your entire customer base. So let's say, the bar chart here is indicating, each bar is indicating about 5% customers, and the cumulative cancel rate of all these customers on the right side that you see is 20%, right? Now, what this bar chart is saying is these models, if your average is 20% cancel rate, they can definitely score, a 5% customers that might be canceling at 60%, not 20% average. And they can also identify on the right side another 5% of the customers that can be that are predicted to cancel at only 4% or 5%, right? So it takes a 20% average and then splits it from, let's say as high as 60% attrition to as low as 5% attrition, right? And you can imagine the same thing, propensity to absorb a price increase, high score to low score, propensity to refer, high score to low score, right? So these are the scores that we will kind of implement on all your customer bases. And then now let's take the step forward. Once we score, how do we operationalize this, right? So in a retention example, our recommendation is, use all your touch points, but one touch point that I'm going to be talking about is when they call into your call center, imagine have a propensity to cancel score, but not just the score. Your IVR knows it, so it knows how to route the call. Your agents now have access to reasons for cancellations. We call them health indicators and recommended offers. If this is a high propensity to cancel customer based on neighborhood analytics, demographic analytics, similar customer analytics, which offers are likely to be accepted by this particular customer based on all the data points, and are they profitable or not, right? So those are the recommended offers that we are seeing. And the same scenario can be applied to many other use cases that you have. If you are upgrading, do we need to give a kind of promotional offer, buy one, get one, or 20% incentive to encourage them to buy, so on and so forth, right? So this is how we operationalize and recommend our customers to implement AI-driven scoring and then turn AI-driven scoring into day-to-day operations. And this example is talking about how to operationalize in the call center, but the same data is available through APIs for your marketing leaders and field service leaders, so they can kind of play the game and be the heroes as well, right? Now, the title of this webinar is how to increase the growth through AI scoring. So I'm going to translate that into, how does all of this translate into lifetime value increase or growth for the business, right? So again, going with this customer who's likely to cancel at a higher rate, they might be walking a very, very high attrition survival curve before this proactive intervention that I showed in the previous screen. Now, by intercepting that, renewing that customer, maybe giving a little discounted offer or maybe a small rate adjustment, we're now going to keep them longer. So the new survival curve, these models will kind of track the before survival curve, after survival curve, and pre-calculate all the NPV lift and all of that. So the idea is we will give them that offer in a very targeted way, measure who's taking these offers, who's not taking these offers, so they get better and better over a period of time. But they will all translate into higher NPV at every customer level, and at an aggregate, your upgrades are generating this much lifetime value increase, your referrals are generating this much lifetime value increase, and of course, your retention programs are generating this much lifetime value increase, right? So we implement these things at every customer level, and then aggregate, all these programs and, review how much lifetime value are generating through each of these programs, right? So very, very fascinating when we kind of do quarterly reviews and annual reviews with our customers to identify, which programs are working very effectively, which programs might need a little more fine tuning, a little more attention, and all these things. But all of that starts with, AI scoring and then AI enabled actions, right? So now to sum it up, again, let's zoom out, right? Imagine a system where for all the subscription customers, whether you have 100,000 customers or 500,000 customers, when you log into Wazik, you're going to see your customers identified and scored every single day, looking at opportunities for renewals, churn, upgrades, and all of them will have different numbers like what I showed earlier. And you will be micro-segmenting them. You will have predefined offers, and Wazik system will continuously learn. And that is the promise of AI. And that is what our team has mastered over the last 10 plus years, right? So we would love to work with you, understand your unique situations, and see how we can bring this technology to support your business growth. With that, Doug, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, thank you, Vasu. All right, so a lot of questions usually come up when we do these meetings in person. How do you get started? How do you deliver so much value in 90 days? And I'll explain very briefly how we do that. So by way of this webinar, we're offering a no-cost proof of value AI growth workshop. And what is that exactly? So we start with an on-site visit prior to the launch of the proof of value. We'll spend about a half day with you. We'll agree on the use cases. We'll understand, ask some questions and probe on the understand the current business and IT operations that support your business today. And then we'll go back and do some homework, and we'll build a time and results-based POV playbook. We'll invite business leaders who have a common compensation goal aimed at boosting subscription revenue growth and improving customer retention. We also look for people whose neck is potentially getting choked because you're not meeting the corporate objectives in terms of revenue growth and customer retention. As they say, no pain, no gain. We'll create a very compelling business case. We'll perform a gap analysis of the current business and baseline those metrics. And by way of the outcomes of the proof of value exercise, we'll use those improvements as the basis and the foundation of the business case. So it's all built upon the results of the proof of value based on your data and your business. We'll secure executive level buy-in, right? Sometimes that's very difficult, especially in the economic climate today. So as we're closing in on the finish line of the POV, we'll set up an executive level meeting to present our findings and recommendations based on your data, based on your business process, and we'll share the measurable outcomes and the areas of improvement that will deliver the ROI. And then the next question that usually comes up in these meetings is how do we demonstrate the ROI? So we have a ready to go AI solution, a proven playbook, a dedicated and experienced team of data scientists and PhDs that have delivered over the course of the last 10 years about a total of $750 million in customer lifetime value to our customers. Next slide, please. So as we wrap up the webinar today, I'd like to thank you for your time and interest. We have some exciting things to share with you today. We encourage you to invite us in for this workshop that we're talking about, the AI-enabled growth strategy workshop. It'll provide you with insight to your current customer retention programs. We always see a lot of aha moments because of all the disparate groups that have some stake in it, but no single group really owns it. So we'll provide you with insight to your current customer retention programs, supporting processes and technology, and then we'll talk about the areas of improvement. And finally, for all the attendees on the webinar today, we're offering a 50% discount on the first year of our software and our services to help you retain, guess what, your most important customers. So thank you for your time today. I'll turn it back to Brandon. He'll answer, he'll wrap it up. And if there's any questions, we'll cover those. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vasu. Thank you, Doug. Thanks to all of you for attending today. If you have specific questions you'd like us to answer right now, feel free to post those into the Q&A section of Zoom. While you're putting that together, if you have any of those, as mentioned here, if you want to reach out to us directly, you can send us an email at info at voziq.ai. That's VOZIQ.ai. Meanwhile, while Vasu and Doug were sharing their stuff, I was looking at the names of those of you that have joined, and definitely been doing some LinkedIn stalking to see who you are. And I've probably already sent you a LinkedIn invite, or will be doing so shortly. Would love to connect with you. Even if you just want a quick one-on-one discussion with me to see how this might fit, and then from there set up the next stage of a meeting. We'd be happy to see how our solution would fit into your business. We know that by using our technology, you can very quickly be able to take all the data that you may be sitting on currently and translate that into intelligence. And then once you have that intelligence, to help you translate that into operational actions that will allow you to be able to keep your current customer base, to be able to grow your customer base, or as Vasu said, also to be able to go out and to get new customers. And we've seen that the solution can dramatically impact the enterprise value of our partners, and we'd love to be able to do the same with you. So I don't see any questions in the Q&A. We usually shoot for this to be a half an hour, and we're a little bit over, so we'll go ahead and wrap things up. But appreciate your time and look forward to chatting to each of you in more detail in the future. Thank you, everyone.